Hello, everyone. Welcome to Final Fantasy IV Free Enterprise. This is a race between Lenophis and ZekeHighwind. For commentary on this, we have Zeruvian and I'm going to mispronounce your name even though you just told me it. Vitasia?
Vitasia, it's good. I appreciate that.
Yeah, we did it. Take it away, guys. Have fun.
No, we appreciate. Thank you, Green Gaming, for having Free Enterprise here and ready to help out. Really excited to be here, helping benefit Mother of Corals. We'll take some time out to read out donations as they come in throughout the race. My name's Vitasia. I'm joined on the mic by Zeruvian. How we doing tonight, Zeru?
We're doing all right, Vitasia, and welcome to all of you that are joining us for this marathon and this run of Free Enterprise. We're playing ZZ5 Flags, the Highway to the Zenith Zone 5th edition, and we're running on Blue Moon. Do you want to explain to everybody exactly what that entails tonight?
Sure, absolutely. So this is the latest Highway to the Zenith Zone. It's our annual fall tournament that we have over in the Final Fantasy IV Free Enterprise community. The Blue Moon Flags, we had kind of an interesting tournament. We had Blue Moon and Red Moon, sort of an interesting dichotomy. They were a little bit different. Blue Moon Flags end up being a little bit more powerful. You have very limited character selection. Only 7 characters locations are available through the entire seed. So the party that you're given is kind of set for you. That being said, everything is, all of the key items in the game are randomized throughout the various key locations that you normally get them in the game. But the big objective here is that the boss locations are all randomized. And you see on the objectives over here that we have a boss hunt, effectively. We have to kill 7 of these 8 bosses that are projected on here. We have what is normally the Fabul Gauntlet, which is a little bit special that we'll get there. Golbez, Asura, the Dragon Mist, Octomom, the Water Hag, the Plague, and Bahamut. So we have an interesting mix of different bosses, some of them relatively easy, some of them are going to be a little bit more difficult depending on where we find them. And it's the race to kill 7 of the 8 bosses. Once we kill the 7th one, we will be presented with the Crystal, which is the final item that we need to defeat Zeromus at the end of the game. Although it's not quite Zeromus, and we'll get to that a little bit sooner. But this is kind of a high power flag set that can get through relatively quickly. But there's some hidden boss locations and some things that are locked behind different key items that can really extend out the seed. So we gave ourselves 2 hours for this one, but we've seen races go as quickly as under an hour in this tournament so far. So really looking forward to seeing what both Lenophis and ZekeHighwind can put on a show for us.
And it's really going to depend on exactly where all those bosses end up, because each boss slot has its own stats as well. So it's a puzzle in a way.
Absolutely. So the stats don't change from the boss location. If some bosses are still going to be very punchy. Some bosses are going to have higher magic defense. But because the script changes based on the sprite, some things can be switched around. For example, the boss right before Rubicante normally has very low magic attack, but very high regular attack, even though the bosses there originally don't have any actual attacks. So something like the Octomom being there can be a little bit difficult to get through. Another thing to note is, even though all the key items are randomized, we are guaranteed to have our access into the underworld be hidden through the hook into the hover route, into the Cave Eblin. So we're not going to find an early Magna Key. And if there's some Free Enterprise folks in the community, in the chat, there's a meme that's been going around in this tournament, and I promise you we're going to address the meme, because if there's one thing we like in Free Enterprise, it's memes. It's true. And other than that, how about we get this race rolling here? And I've just given the command to both Lenophis and ZekeHighwind. We have a Porum start character. So Porum is a white mage who generally you want a white mage to be able to assist you. However, she's not exactly the best white mage and is a character that some people like to get rid of fairly quickly. And so we have joining us with Porum is wonderful Dark Knight Cecil, and we do have the hook as our starting key item.
So right out the gate, one of the characters you probably want to see, and one of the items you don't want to have to look for. And that hook will also give us free access to starting to loot around Castle Evelyn if you want a chance going through and possibly encountering some pretty tough trap chests early on.
Absolutely. Cecil is a very interesting character in that he changes a lot of routing decisions and a lot of other choices that you make throughout the race. Simply because the power that he unlocks with access to an Excalibur sword, even a crystal sword, depending on where you can get them. The really high-end equipment, like the Excalibur and crystal sword, typically is only available in trap chests, although there's some other very specific locations like the Troya Treasury that it can be located in as well. We see the runners right now going through the Watery Pass. This is another character location where we find Tella, and we've gotten some pretty decent loot, like a life staff, which is just a fantastic piece of equipment for any white mage.
So we see Zeke already dipping out of the Watery Pass here, and Leno is going to keep going deeper in here. With the flag set that we have that we're playing for ZZ5 Blue Moon, we have something called T Wildish, for all of your treasure is kind of wild, but not so wild that you can get the highest tier items in just any chest. So basically any chest that you can open can have, I think it's up to 6 or 7 on the tier scale?
Well, yeah, it really depends on each location. So any location that is considered more out of the way could be heavy, give a heavier weight to better gear. And the Watery Pass is certainly considered one of the more out of the way locations. Having Tella, who can cast an exit spell to get you out of it, so even though you're diving pretty deep into the dungeon to gather those deep treasure chests, will still give you the ability to get out quickly. So that's really valuable, in particular in the early game. We do see that Zeke opted to leave a little bit early, finds Edge in Damsian, which is a fantastic character in his own right, and he is immediately going to Castle Evelyn to try to loot and find some really nice treasures, and we found one of those trap chests right away.
And the neat part about some of the characters that you might find in a flag set like this is we are seeing the characters aren't earned. They're in their event positions, as would be through vanilla gameplay. So that Tella that we found in Watery Pass, that's actually the vanilla placement for encountering Tella for the first time. They come at the level you would normally recruit them at in a vanilla playthrough. So Edge is at a pretty hefty level 25. We might see Zeke starting to tackle some of the earlier game boss slots after roaming through this castle.
Absolutely. With an Edge and even a moderately decent equipped party, you can go immediately to someplace like Mount Ordeals, which has 3 boss locations that you want to check anyway, because this is a boss hunt. And Edge can pretty well solo them. We're seeing the looting of the Damsian basement right now. When we found an assassin dagger and a ninja shirt, that's all we need. We're good. We're good for anything that we want to fight in the overworld, honestly, with that in Edge.
Something else we saw in Castle Evelyn, Zeke picking up a rune axe. That'll be good for Paladin Cecil, or if we happen to find a queen along our way, good there as well.
Yeah, the rune axe has some interesting properties. It has kind of a lower hit rate, but the nice thing about it is that it does extra damage against any sort of mage character. So Mad Ogres, which are strangely mages, Asura, which is on our boss kill list right now, has bonus damage done with the rune axe. Also the Magus Sisters, which can be a really annoying boss depending on where it lines up with. all of them take bonus damage to that root axe. So absolutely worthwhile to have that handy just in case. Does look like the Lenophis is coming over here and checking bedward. This is normally where you would get the twin harp, and it's a free key item check to go ahead. Just a protect ring, so it's not a key item, but still a very nice piece of loot.
There's also a public treasury we're going to see Lenophis come over to. Another 8 checks to see if you can find another, one more piece of gear before you start actually tackling some of these boss slots. And of course, both runners very likely to go to ordeals with that Cecil in their party.
Oh, we just picked up a curse ring in that public treasury. Now, this is going to get into some really deep minutia of how free enterprise is coded. So be prepared. I'm about to nerd out, and I hope everyone enjoys nerd topics here. So the original Final Fantasy IV didn't have speed stats for any of the enemies, none of the bosses, none of the enemies or anything. It was always a relative speed compared to Cecil, because Cecil was in your party for the entire time and they had to save space as best as they could. We've kind of reprogrammed it so that it's not always going to be based on the speed of Cecil, but it's going to be based on the speed of the central character slot. So what the curse ring does is give you minus 15 to all of your stats. So what is a popular thing to do within the free enterprise community is to put that curse ring and dedicate someone in the middle slot to be what's called an agility anchor, where they are going to be purposefully significantly slower than the rest of their party, under-leveled, under-geared, curse ring on it to get that agility as low as possible, or at a certain agility breakpoint. That way, the rest of the party moves significantly faster than anything else that's on the field.
All right, so Lenophis shopping around here in Troya, we saw him pick up a longsword for that edge, which is going to be a good amount of offense. Again, a decently equipped edge can solo a lot of the early game bosses here. Zeke, on the other hand, went to Mysidia and found us a Yang and a Palom. And so now we have some offensive magic as well as the Porum, his twin, just hanging out here. And we're going to see Mount Ordeals.
Yeah, Mount Ordeals, I really like the Mount Ordeals play, especially with the party. And we've done plenty of looting at this point. We should be fairly good to go. There is our final character check that is also going to be on Mount Ordeals. With this particular party setup, Yang is kind of the weak character. Oh, we have a Rosa. I think we're going to upgrade our white mage here.
This is interesting because having both twins does allow you to use the twin cast ability. But it's far and away the better white mage, so you almost wonder what's going through Zeke's little process of thought here.
I really think this is a play for that twin magic, which it certainly is useful for for the early game, but the late game not so much. You really want, I think Rosa's HP pool ends up scaling quite a bit better than Porum's. Also, Porum doesn't learn the best cure spell in the game, Cure 4, until much later than Rosa does. So that is an interesting play in the immortal words of ESPN, the Ocho. That's a bold move, Cotton. See how it plays out.
All right, so we're going to see our first boss slot, and it is Odin sitting where we would normally see Mylon and friends here. And Odin can be a bit of a hassle in some boss slots here. Not quite as bad in this position, but you still don't want him to get his attack off.
No, absolutely not. The nice thing is he has a weakness that we can exploit. You did see both runners end up picking up a Thunderclaw. Edge can equip the claws that Yang can normally equip. And using that Thunderclaw, he has a 4 times weakness to any sort of thunder attack. Magic, physical with the Thunderclaw, whatever you want to throw at him. Edge could probably 1 or 2 shot him right now.
I think Zeke opted to keep that Poison Claw equipped, unless I missed him menuing over to the Thunderclaw. Of course, you see Lit 1 doing 320 from a Palom with no stat stick. So just to little evidence to what we're saying here, Odin is allergic to lightning.
He is, but I think he wanted to save the menu time, and really the priority was knocking down that Tella. It indicates to me you're going to want Tella to be your slow character and eventually that agility anchor that I was talking about. When you're in the overworld, I think generally speaking, you want a fast agility anchor, so keeping Edge in that middle slot will certainly pan out. And we saw on Lenophis' side, he does have that Thunderclaw, and he's punching for well over 1,000. Same levels, and it goes from 400 to over 1,000 for that damage. You saw how much quicker Lenophis got through that fight.
Now our back attack here is looking like it's the Magus Sisters. We do have a Mute Knife in our runner's inventories as well. And so that is, yet again, another weakness we can exploit on these early game bosses.
Yeah, we mentioned that Rune X earlier, but yeah, we really like a Mute Knife. I am seeing 2 White Lances in Zeke's inventory. 2 White Lances for certain not appearing in this race because we've already checked all of our character spots. We have no Kain.
And Zeke putting those 2 white spears to good use, already tossing one at Mindy. We'll probably see the second one go right at Cindy here.
Absolutely. It's in the meantime, Lenophis is, this is a great back and forth race because we see 2 different strategies. It is effective when you have Kain. Go ahead and use those darts. It'd be nice to be able to sell those off, but if you're trying to get through a boss quickly, hey, it's a great strategy to still throw stuff. You have the inventory space to use. Let's get it done.
Yeah, we do see how much more power that Mute Knife had than waiting to throw a couple spears. But nonetheless, both runners down and out are the Magus Sisters. We get to see who's waiting right here where Cecil will find the light, you could say.
Yep. Cecil does undergo his normal transformation over into a paladin. We get the Luca key, which is going to be an interesting key item. But the reason Mount Ordeals ends up being so important, it does allow Cecil to go over to paladin form, get access to all of those fantastic weapons, but also it unlocks Tella's full spell list as well, just like in the vanilla game. And High Plague, we've been looking for you.
One of those spots you're probably happier to see Plague, just because this spot only has, 1,000 HP?
Yeah, it's only 1,000 HP. Normally, of course, there's a script associated with this fight. It's a Dark Knight Cecil who fights this solo. We're not going to bother with anything like that. It's 1,000 HP spot. We're going to get through it pretty quickly here. That said, I don't mind seeing much more terrible bosses here either, because you do get a full HP refill at the start and at the end of this particular fight. So you can go into it full power. I personally love seeing like a Leviathan or Ogopogo there right out the gate. So we have a great race so far. I do think that Zeke might have done a little bit more looting, but Lenophis is certainly getting through it here just as quickly. So we have ourselves a race here. It's side by side. Loving this. Loving it.
Yeah, there's only so many different ways that you can stay side by side like this the whole way through, with key items pretty much abound, boss slots basically everywhere, and no access to the underworld yet. We gotta see what these two decide to do next.
I'll tell you what I would do, and this is only because Cecil is such a game-changing character. When he has the right equipment, I'm going right back to Eblin Castle, and I'm opening those trap chests. With the edge that we have, and with Tella now able to cast Stone, this is the perfect opportunity to be able to clear through those trap chests. And if you luck into an Excalibur or a Crystal Sword, it literally changes the game. Zeke is checking some other boss stuff. Everyone's favorite comedian, Golbez.
Yeah, and in this slot, this is a scripted beginning to the fight. Golbez will always knock down all but 2 of your characters before the fight proper actually begins. Knowing where one of your boss slots is and being in a nice spot like Mount Hobbs definitely makes it much more interesting to start routing the rest of your face checks here.
Absolutely. The nice thing about knowing where Golbez is as well, in addition to it being a required boss, Golbez is a boss fight that you can play around. For example, he does have that normal script where he will paralyze everyone and then kill all but 2 of your party members. That said, because of that particular location, you can also set up, for example, if you have any other status condition on your party, Piggy, Minnie, Poison, anything, he can't paralyze you. So what a lot of runners end up doing is setting up for that Golbez, coming back a little bit later, and setting up explicitly so that they can, come right out of the gate. And as soon as their party has been knocked down to the appropriate time, they can come out swinging and knock him over before he does any of his casts.
Alright, so Zeke's sticking with this karate fight in Antlion Cave here. This is a key item location. And adhering to the script from the game, as soon as Yang does a second kick, Cecil, no matter how hard he hits him, Yang's gonna go, ouch! And he's done for.
Yeah, it's a scripted fight if you have a Paladin Cecil. We have an Adamant Rock, which is a key item. It's not needed per se, but it's still nice to have. And particularly in this flag set where it's possible to get all of your bosses' kills done relatively quickly. There's a special coding process that we have that once you get 10 key items, it doubles the experience for every other fight that you have for the rest of the game. So getting to that 10 key item mark is actually really beneficial when it comes to grinding. With these flag sets, we've noticed quite a bit where you hit Blue Moon and you're ready to go fight Zeromus. You don't have your levels yet though, and you're at like 9 key items. So having that extra one, I can understand and appreciate why we're hanging on to that Adamant Rock.
Alright, Lenophis takes out Mom Bomb, and we see a key item now waiting. And it's not a key item, it's just a gold apple, which is nice to have.
It's nice.
How about this Octomammoth sitting in Mist Cave?
That's nice. In fact, that's a fantastic spot for Octomom. So Octomom, if Octomom's on the moon, you're in for a bad time. I just want to let everyone know, because not only does Octomom hit really hard and really fast, but Octomom is also resistant to holy weapons. I know this doesn't come up in the vanilla game at all. But if you have one of those holy swords on your Cecil and have been relying on him, Octomom resists holy weaponry. So you can be in kind of a pickle, depending on where he's at.
Speaking of kind of a pickle, we're going to put a pickle somewhere in Baron Inn here. Question is that pickle going to be for Mylon Z or for who's waiting behind him?
Well, we'll just have to see, and it is Rubicante.
The leg himself.
Yes, we call him Leg because as soon as he transitions, he does a little dance. That's that sexy leg right there.
Showing a lot of leg. Meanwhile,
that's a lot of leg.
Leno deciding to take on Golbez right here, right now. Which, we're going to see a full party cast Mute. And, well, that'll do the trick, I say.
Here's the problem. We have equipment on both Rosa and Palom to prevent mute, so they're still going to get stunned, which is unfortunate. But you will see, Cecil, Tella, and Edge will not be paralyzed, so they're still going to have their fight commands up and running right now. I missed what that key item was in the Baron Inn, though.
I believe it was the package, which in this situation isn't exactly something you need to see. It does give us a very long cutscene that leads into a boss check, but that's one of those that you might consider to be a last-ditch kind of thing.
You say that, but I'm here to tell you right here and now. In these same flag sets, we already have our undefeated champion in the Blue Moon, Kyrios. And Kyrios beat me because he made a cheeky check to check that package check. If there wasn't a boss there, I would have beaten him. I just want to say that. Just putting that out there. Kyrios. No, Kyrios is a fantastic runner as well. So never underestimate the cheeky package check.
Oh, here we go. We've gone back into Evelyn Castle, and we're going to take on some of these trap chests for Zeke.
Yeah, using Edge to cast Flame on those skeletons. That's why Edge is so key, because he can cast that Flame spell and take out quite a few of the early enemies there. Porum's going to try to cast a heal, but this is a very punchy Staleman that we're trying to get through right now. You see just one-shotting Tella right now, so he is weak to ice, so gonna get through this, I'm fairly confident, but it's going to take... He's gonna stress a little bit here. Oof, this is getting a little close. Okay. Whew.
Yeah, that's kind of that's the kind of fight that makes your heart race. And it's all worth it for that Excal.
Absolutely. We're done. We're done looting. We're good, guys. That Excalibur is the second best weapon in the game, and honestly, it's one of the weapons. Like, it feels weird, but the two best weapons in the game, both only Cecil can equip. So with that Excalibur, we're good. We don't need to do any more looting. Everything else that we don't need, we can sell. The rest of the game becomes supporting Cecil and his damage output. Realistically.
Yeah, and just like that, we see Zeke has already made his way into Evelyn Cave. And we're already just shopping around to see. We're going to do some inventory management here. And take this moment to start equipping a few things and see if we've got any help from the item shop or any of the weapons that might come in handy. Still looking for some Hanzo steel for that edge that we have. But otherwise, we're in pretty good shape here.
You know, we've seen a ninja sword, we've seen a long sword, we've seen an assassin dagger. That's all doable. Honestly, it's weaponry that is good enough, I would say, at this point in time. We're set up to have two melee fighters, your necessary support / floor tank in Tella, a white mage in either Porum or Rosa, and then your sweeper mage in Palom. This is a very balanced party for both of our runners right here.
And right away we're seeing that the couple things that we get in this armor shop is actually going to be kind of nice to have. Strength rings for sale, also a ninja hat or two might help out where we don't have quite a bit of agility on a few of our characters, and a little bit of defense as well.
No, that's a great point. The ninja hat, increases agility. So as long as you don't equip it on your middle party character, fantastic. You can help speed up the rest of your characters into a state what we call RA1. I mean, we already have a curse stream, so we're probably going to hit RA1 anyway. But that just makes the fight order and the command order very predictable and easy to control and kind of predict what's going to happen. So really, we're set up, and we mentioned this kind of a little bit earlier, in these particular flag sets, it's really easy to have great party setup and great power in the equipment that you have, and you don't have to do a ton of looting. We see, of course, Zeke is done with looting, and he's on his way and is good to go. It looks like Lenophis, while he does have that Excalibur, not quite done. Wants to do a little bit more looting that's available. These trap chests also give great experience as well. So certainly worthwhile to go ahead and pull those.
I don't feel awkward for a moment. We did see Zeke take a reset. He found the trap chest in this passage between the Eblin outpost here and actually getting to the top half of Tower of Battle. Unfortunately, he hadn't saved because we don't have a save point between the overworld and where we had found that chest. So Zeke is having to do his shopping all over again here for just a moment.
Yeah, that's an unfortunate reset that happens, but sometimes, discretion is the better part of valor. You might as well take a reset instead of anything else that happens.
Yeah, I don't believe he's healed his party yet either, so
no.
That definitely being a little more safe than definitely sorry here.
No, they are rewarded, or the party is given, a handful of items to start the race. Usually there's some tents in that particular kit that happens, and there's a tent that he just opened right there, so he'll be fine. We just got to get to a safe point. We will see. Okay, that's Leviathan. That's going to be at that normal Rubicon spot. So that's interesting.
Yeah, Leviathan on Rubicante. Yeah, I mean, at least it's not Ogopogo, right?
True. Well, yeah, Ogopogo. Well, here's the thing. Ogopogo is a little bit fast. With that particular spot, right out the gate, he's going to cast Big Wave, which is 25% of your health just gone. And then he'll go into a phase where he casts Ice 2. And that's, that has some pretty decent magic attack. It's not the most difficult to go through, so depending on kind of our setup, we should be able to survive it. But just be aware that those Ice 2s could do a little bit of damage. That being said, as long as our White Mage can get Berserk cast on our Excalibur wielding Paladin, I think we'll be fine.
We are setting up here. We do have one additional boss fight before we get to that Leviathan proper. That would be the boss that ends up on the slot for King and Queen of Eblin. Usually a free scripted fight, but as we alluded to in the intro here, that spot can be a particular hassle for our runners, depending on who happens to be there.
No, absolutely, and it's a surprise. The original bosses there, the King and Queen Eblin, just do kind of a script where they cast Fire 1 and Fire 2, so the stats in that spot have the magic attack be really kind of low. But to make up for it, the actual attacking is very, very high. So if you have, say, Antlion, or any sort of boss that only attacks, okay, this is fine.
Yeah, that's perfect.
Dark Elf is fine. Yeah, this is going to do very minimal damage with the Dark Elf. He will still cast Weak, but luckily Dark Elf also has a weakness to the Holy property, and we were just swinging for 6,000 damage for like a level 17 Cecil, which, I love Holy damage.
Yeah, there's a good number of enemies in this game that just fall apart when you hit them with anything that has the Holy property.
Now, characters are falling down. Porum and Palom both fall down. Luckily, there's no experience at that particular spot. So you fall over and you immediately get rewarded with a full HP refill that Rubicant gives you before you fight. It does look like Zeke has taken that safety save in between, though. Does not want to waste the time.
Definitely doesn't want to get in that trouble point where you're in the middle of fighting Leviathan and something doesn't go your way and suddenly you're having to start over from the beginning of the previous fight.
Absolutely. Because things can go wrong. Absolutely, depending on how things are set up. Meanwhile, Lenophis is kind of behind Zeke in the straight line race, did some more looting, but has kind of a better equipped party. Has double ninja sword equipped Edge in addition to being just generally better outfitted, rewarded with the crystal ring, and it does look like Palom there learned Quake. Now, Quake is, we joke in the community, we call Palom the Quake Kid because he learns Quake, which is a ridiculously overpowered spell in this game at a very early level. And I think it's level 24. And it is one of those spells that is fast to cast, and it sweeps through enemies, and it goes through the wall spell. It is a fantastic spell, and he gets it so early. That's the value of Palom. He's just called Quick Kid.
We do see that second big wave come out. 25% of the character's max HP every time it hits. And luckily, only so much HP to be taken off of some of our characters here, like Porum only at 244. The Cure 1 easily handles that.
Yeah. Meanwhile, we have both Porum and Tella kind of set up for support at this point, but yep, that Cecil's zerked up, so he's fine.
And we're leaving Edge in control here. Probably going to knock down that Tella now that we're in some position where we can just keep the damage coming. The only thing I'd be worried about here is if that Porum gets knocked over.
Yeah, that's going to be difficult, but luckily, with the big waves and the kind of damage that we have going on right now, I think we're set up reasonably well. We're going to have Edge also kind of act as a little bit of an alchemist, throwing cures as well. Oh, Porum survives, but that was close. That was 3 HP. Meanwhile, Lenophis is cut up, now a Dark Elf, but we have the Crumble, so we do have now our access to the Underworld. All right, so the bosses that we've seen so far, I think we've seen Plague, we've seen Optimum, and we've seen Golbez. So that's 3 out of our 8 bosses, and we need 7 to go. So we're 4 bosses away, correct?
Yeah, a minimum of 4. Zeke hasn't gone back to do Golbez, but he does know where he is. Leno, I don't think was able to. I don't think Leno went and checked Mist Cave, so he doesn't know about the Octomom.
Oh boy, that's going to come into play because that's an important check that you have to be able to make.
But you see, Jura is waiting up there to talk to Leviathan, so that is who we have sitting at the top of the tower.
That's really interesting and certainly is going to inform the play of both of our runners. You know, you can check that top boss. It's very out of the way, and more importantly, I think, is that there's also a tower key that is available somewhere in the race that makes it a more efficient check if we can double dip those. While we do have a known boss there, I think we do some other checks, and it does look like we'll have some other checks first that Zeke is going to end up doing, and then we're going to go, eventually go up there. But first, we have kind of our favorite grind spot.
Yeah, with a Siren here, you'll always summon this egg that will hatch into a yellow dragon if it's hit. And otherwise, you can see 34,000 experience for each egg. That's a pretty sizable chunk, and Sirens may be for sale in a shop, and otherwise are pretty easy to obtain with an edge in your party if you happen to dip into the Tower of Babel a little bit. Hit up some of the enemies there.
Absolutely. Sirens are an item that was not in the original US release version of the game, but we do run off the original Japanese ROM, and that's what we randomize, so we just roll with it. It's a fantastic item that automatically calls the lowest percentage random encounter of the tile that you are on. So in that particular tile, yeah, it's an egg that gives fantastic experience that only has about 1800 HP. So it's a great grinding item. We see the pan is pulled from the Feymarch location as well. That's a nice little item to pull.
So if we talk about routing efficiently, we saw Leno go take care of a mom bomb in the front of Fabul Castle. But Zeke hasn't gone in that direction, so now he's going to be able to chain both Sylph Cave with the Sheila checks and the boss check at the same time.
It is a very efficient check if your concern is key items. But remember, unlike most other Final Fantasy IV Free Enterprise tournaments...
Okay. Well, this is an interesting one.
Yeah, let me finish my thought here real quick. Unlike other Free Enterprise tournaments, this is a boss hunt. It's not a key item hunt to try to find certain things. So, we have a couple bosses here. This is a completely free boss. They will follow a script. They will cast Fire 1 and Fire 2, and it will be weak. And we don't even have to hit them. You see, Zeke is like, nah, we're just gonna sit here, let you cast, let your script play out, and we'll just eat up this like 25,000 experience or whatever the heck we end up getting from this. It's a large chunk. And then right next door is Bahamut, which not only is a required boss that we have to do, but has a setup to the point where it's relatively free as long as we have some Star Veils, which is an item that just casts Wall. So this is a fantastic Feymarch to find.
And correct me if I'm wrong, did we not have up to 4 Star Veils earlier on in the scene?
I believe, yeah, I mean, usually you start with 5 or 6 Star Veils or something to that effect. So we certainly have the Star Veils, and if you have Tella, which you want to knock down anyway, this is a great grind, great key item check, and you get a freebie boss on top of it. This is actually fantastic routing and a little bit lucky because the Feymarch is not traditionally the first check you make in the underground, but Zeke kind of hit the jackpot here. There's a little bit of luck to your routing. Ain't no shame in that game.
And you'll see Bahamut counts down here, as he is going to use his Mega Flare attack as soon as that last number goes away. And with a Star Veil up on each character, all of that damage is not going to hit any member of Zeke's party. Instead, he'll take one hit of his own breath, and that hurts. Meanwhile, we have the other Nope Rope on Leno's side here in Dwarf Castle 1.
Ogo Pogo, we mentioned, is kind of the counter to Leviathan. Evil Leviathan, if you will, normally a moon boss. And he does a double big wave to start. So immediately you start the fight and he's going to take out 50% of your total HP. Just right out the gate. It's really painful. And if you're not prepared for it, it can really cause some issues later on. This is a particularly nasty spot for Ogo Pogo because it didn't look like Lenophis had fully healed up. And then he has a second boss fight where he cannot recover immediately afterwards. This isn't a difficult boss fight. Oh.
But it is the Blarg fight. Do we have enough time to get a Star Veil off? We do not. But it misses Rosa.
This is the really interesting thing. This is the really interesting thing about this fight. Normally, this is the Golbez fight. It is designed to be a very intimidating fight, but truthfully, they gave Golbez like almost no magic attack, which means it's easy for a high magic character like Rosa to be able to dodge the Mega Nuke, and even then you saw the Mega Nuke was only doing 1,000 damage. A Mega Nuke should easily be doing like quad 9s. So that's a relatively free Wyvern fight. We just have to survive in Ogopogo before we get there. It just takes some prep. So that's really interesting. Meanwhile, Zeke is through. So that's really interesting. Meanwhile, Zeke is through. He got the Legend Sword as well, another key item. And it's interesting because now he has both the Legend Sword and the Adamant Rod, which unlocks the shop.
It does one additional item in this flags, if I'm not mistaken. Now, normally you would forge the Excalibur with that.
Normally you would, but in this flag set, we did something different, and it was kind of a high demand area. We'll talk about that spoon in a second. But when you forge the adamant, normally you would get the Excalibur. However, in this flag set, you will get a random weapon from the Final Fantasy IV Advanced game. It can be any weapon, not necessarily usable by the party, and it does look like Zeke is going to show us exactly what's going on. It could be anything from, I've seen Excalibur, I've seen scrap, some really bad weapons, but I've also seen some really fantastic weapons like the Gigantax or a special Mist Whip for Rydia. We see at this shop Stardust Run and Defense Sword. Loki Harp for, again, Sir not appearing in this scene. I feel so bad because we got back to back. Not only is the Loki Harp a fantastic weapon for Edward, who's not appearing in this seed, who's normally not worth picking up. We also just picked up the spoon, which if you played the original Final Fantasy IV, you know that there's references to the Spoony Bard. Lol, internet memes. So we made it so that the spoon, which is normally a weapon that you can't equip, it can only be thrown, Edward can equip. And it's the highest damage weapon in the game. Same with the Crystal Sword. Like, it's equivalent to a Crystal Sword. So Edward can be a glass cannon if you can get the equipment. But he's not appearing. Too bad.
One thing that spoon is still useful for, however, it's a free 9999 dart for the edge that we have in our party.
Absolutely. And so it's still worthwhile if you're having trouble getting through a specific boss location. Lenophis is going to go ahead and try to swing through this boss fight. You don't have to swing, Lenophis. It's okay. Just calm down. Let the script play out. You're just wasting pixels, my friend.
Now, this Mom Bomb for Zeke is going to be a little bit faster than when Lenophis had previously encountered it. And now that we've seen a good number of the boss checks in the Underworld as well, we know of Ashura at the top of the Tower of Babel. We're getting to that point where we're going to need to see a couple key items or some face checks. Or possibly we'll be looking for our moon access here very shortly.
True. There are a number of key items that specifically lock away bosses. Some of the key ones being the Earth Crystal, being Baron Key. We do have access to a couple of them, though. We mentioned earlier we got the package. It's a cutscene away, but there is a boss that is locked behind that package. There's not a key item, though. There is the Luca Key, which does lock away a boss. It technically locks away a key item, but because of a minor glitch we have enabled, we can actually gain access to that key item without actually having the key. We'll explain it when we get there. I promise, it's coming.
Yeah, one of the two will definitely make it to that point.
Absolutely. But in the meantime, Zeke is, you mentioned it earlier, making very efficient check. He hadn't done the Fabul defense location yet, and he's combining it with his Sheila 1 and Sheila 2 checks, so lots of key item checks going on. There's the Rat Tail and a white shirt, which is just going to be a fantastic piece of equipment for his white mage there. We saw Zeke kind of pre-set up, like he thought he might get the Rat Tail. and kind of set up the hovercraft to be able to do it ahead of time, which is a very heads-up play, knowing that he wouldn't need the hovercraft and just the most efficient time to set that up is on his way to Fabul, because it's right next door.
So we're going to see this rat tail turned in. Usually it's going to be a key item. It could just be another, as we call them, a zonk, just another random item that we don't necessarily need out of the mid to upper tier pool. In this particular instance, it's our crystal sword for Cecil, because you had enough offense with the holy sword. Have it even a brighter, sharper, holier sword.
It's a brighter, sharper, holier sword, and I tell you what else, the crystal sword can't be darted. The Excalibur can. So we mentioned how nice it was to be able to throw the spoon for a quad 9 damage. Hey, that Excalibur does quite a bit of damage on its own as well. So we're still in a good spot.
Now imagine hitting for quad 9s with that crystal sword too.
Which isn't outside the realm of possibility. I mean, it hits hard. There's legitimate discussion in the free enterprise community, and we understand, like, in the grand scheme of all things Final Fantasy, there's some overpowered equipment that's out there. There's legitimate discussion if the crystal sword is the single most overpowered piece of equipment in all of Final Fantasy. It is that good.
I don't think Zeke's gone out of his way to equip it yet either, so maybe kind of giving a little respect to the Excalibur, and I open my mouth. Here we go. Crystal Sword Cecil, go brr.
Crystal Sword Cecil, go brr. Absolutely. Of course, we have the double wave right now, set up very well, and trying to knock down Artella without actually, without actually wasting a turn on anyone else knocking him down. But hey, let's zerk up Cecil and just watch. And he's already doing over 1,000 damage more than Lenophis was doing. And it's not a levels thing, it's just an equipment thing. He's doing about 50% more damage already. And the Excalibur is the second best weapon in the game. So that just speaks to the volume of how good that crystal sword really is.
Now here's the real tough part of this, though, is Dwarf Castle 2 has this wyvern. And you have to think Zeke's thinking, oh boy, double sparkle, here we go. It's Blard time. Does anyone survive this? Oh, the 2 damage dealers survive the mega nuke.
Yeah, the damage dealers survive. Guess what? Crystal swords, you just start swinging. Just swing.
Yeah, don't give him a chance to start, he's going to cast Wall on himself. He's going to start casting Nuke on himself, and that's going to reflect and deal some pretty sizable damage. You take your 2 swings, you get your experience for that little bit of life up time that you took there. That was a little risky. But we're through it. We've got a key item check here that we'll see after this cutscene.
We got a key item check and a half, actually.
Oh, we do. In fact, we do. And we were talking about it a little bit earlier. There is a glitch active in this flag set that I believe we'll probably see Zeke take advantage of here.
Absolutely. In the vanilla game, because we tried, coding in the early 90s, they had to get very creative to fit everything onto the 16-bit cartridge if they wanted to. So the crystal room behind Dwarf Castle is coded to be the same crystal room that's in the Luca cave. So even though we have the Luca key and we can go and get that, if we just cast warp after that, it will take us to the Luca key.
Okay.
There's the darkness crystal. Oh my, that is there.
Okay. I don't know how many key items we have, but I'm pretty sure that puts Zeke in face check mode.
It's pretty close. Asura, meanwhile, goes down, and we were just awarded with an Excalibur on the Lenophis side. So that's okay. I'm trying to count here and double check, how many bosses we've killed. So we have Asura, we have Bahamut that we know are down. We know Octomum, we know Golbez, we know Plague. So that's 5 bosses that we know where they are located. So realistically, we only need to find, there's 3 more bosses out there that we're hunting. I know we're hunting the Fabul defense fight, we're hunting Water Hag, and we're hunting one other that I do not remember what it was properly.
I'm racking my brain trying to figure that one out too. Oh, help us out here.
Yeah, chat, if you're able to help me out, I would. But if not, I know at least 2. I know the Fabul defense and I know Water Hag. So I think, as someone who does commentary and not tracking on a regular basis, I thought that was pretty good. Anyway, we do have a couple spots here on Earth that we can still check before going to the moon. But that darkness crystal unlocks a very large number of bosses. It unlocks 6 bosses up on the moon and then 2 additional bosses in the Giant of Babel. So when you're looking at statistically speaking, okay, we're only looking for 3 bosses and we only need to get 2 of those 3. Yeah, there's a pretty high likelihood that at least 1, if not 2, which will put us in go mode, will be up on that moon.
Now, moon with a whopping 6 slots. We also got an Earth Crystal, by the way. That's another 2 slots we can have a peek at, and a number of checks if we think there might be one other piece of equipment we could possibly want. But I don't know if we see that at this point of the race.
Nah. I mean, I wouldn't advise it. Like I mentioned before, Excalibur Cecil is enough that I'm not looting anything else. Crystal Sword Cecil, absolutely not. We're good. I'm not opening a single more treasure chest if I can avoid it. Looks like we have done some purchasing on Zeke's side. I see a nice stack of 19 Bacchus wines, which is another of those J items. Didn't exist in the American release of the game, but it casts Berserk on whoever drinks it. So that's very nice for our 2 melee fighters, in particular Cecil, so that we don't have to waste casting.
Zeke taking an extra moment to set up here. Now with that mute knife on the edge and the crystal sword on the Cecil, this is going to be no problem whatsoever.
Absolutely none. We've walled up on it. We're still casting Quake, which again goes through that wall, and the mute knife we mentioned earlier, just like the rune axe, does quite a bit of damage against any mage type. Asura is a mage type, so we don't have the wall set up. Okay.
No, but we're doing quite a bit more damage than that Cure 4 is able to do back, so taken care of very handily here by Zeke.
Oh, that's right, because that spot is normally Dr. Lugay, which does not have very high magic at all.
And that Avenger there to kind of ignore the fact that we have a stack of Bacchus wines.
Yeah, I mean, it's nice. It would be more nice if we had a cane, but yeah, I mean, we can set up the Avenger glitch, which would be fine.
Okay, so Leno kind of doubling back on a few of the checks we saw Zeke make earlier. He's going to do Baron Castle. Not Baron Castle, Baron Inn. Speaking of Baron Castle, we do have Dr. Lugay sitting in there, and another 2 checks behind the Baron Key, which we have not seen yet. And there are a number of places that Baron Key could still be hiding.
Yeah, the question becomes, will we see it? Is really ultimately the question. We see Zeke going ahead, opening up a trap chest. This is really, really impressive because one of the things we have not found is sirens in any item shop up to this point in time. You can get sirens, however, from stealing them from these alerts, which are available in the trap chests. Now, we don't need a ton of them. I think we could probably make do with 6 or 7, honestly. We've gotten quite a bit of pretty good experience up to this point in time, going from, doing all the different bosses. We got 2 free bosses from the Fey March that realistically we had no business being able to kill at the levels we got them at. So we're in, what is it, the low 30s right now. Yeah, we're fine. I think you get 4 at the most sirens, and I think we'll be set. It also depends on how many key items we have, and I haven't been keeping count, but it feels like we're getting close to that magical 10 key item mark. Let's see, we've gotten, I want to kind of tick them off. I know we've seen Adamant Rock and Legend Sword. We've seen Darkness Crystal. We've seen Package. We've seen Luca Key. We've seen Hook. We've seen Spoon. What else? Earth Crystal.
So I'm counting 8 by that.
Yeah. Help us out, Chad. Have we seen anything else that we're not calling out? We've seen Pan. We've seen Pan's an important
9.
one.
So we don't really need that many sirens then. I mean, if you're scrambling eggs or doing a King Ryu grind, we're in good shape here. All you need is your next key item, really, to spring you free.
Absolutely. That 10th key item is absolutely key. Now the question becomes on Zeke's side, realistically, how quickly do you go to the moon? We're setting up right now to be able to, we've stolen some sirens so we can get our grind on, but we haven't checked the Luca Key boss, we haven't checked the package spot. We also have the Earth Crystal, which has 2 bosses as well, so that's 4 total bosses that we could leave abandoned on the Earth, versus 8 total that's unlocked from the Darkness Crystal. What call do you make? Do you go ahead and, because you need 2 out of 3 bosses, and we have 8 versus 4. What call do you make, Saru?
I feel like Zeke is making the call you'd expect to be made here, and we're going to see an egg grind and probably straight up to the moon. I mean, we might see him do Mount Hobbs first to get Golbez out of the way.
I mean, I would expect that. Yeah, if he hadn't done it yet, then yeah, I would expect that. Oh, that's 68,000 experience. He has 10 key items, so
what key item are we not thinking of?
I have no idea. We normally have some trackers to help us out with this, but didn't quite get them ready for this one.
Mind if I sneak in with some donations real quick?
Oh, absolutely.
No, absolutely. Go for it.
It's actually a great time for donations. What do we got, Trey?
I've got $40 from Illegally Sam. Hold on, there's comments that I should probably actually read. I click on them. Saying, thanks for having me, and shout out to technical difficulties. Absolutely. We've got $25 from Metroid MST, saying it's not easy being green. Thank you very much for that. And then we've got a $10 donation from Baja Blood, saying, oh boy, I think this is a pun. Please correct me if I'm not. Sorry if this is there's character names. Sorry if this is too edgy, but I can't tell out why anyone would use Cecil.
Boo!
Oh,
you wanted that boo. You wanted that boo. You wanted it. You deserve it.
I figured out what the 10th key item we're missing is.
Oh, what is it?
It's the Luca Key. We've had the Luca Key. Did you say Luca Key?
I thought I said Luca Key. It's okay.
I bet you're probably also missing the rat tail.
Oh, it's the rat tail!
Oh, yeah, that's what we were missing.
And you were afraid to step in, Trey.
Sure. Well, I'm paying attention, kind of. I'm gonna go back. I'm gonna go back into my host chair and let you two continue.
All right. So here's what we're gonna see here. We're gonna see a little bit of more divergent paths as we have Leto going up to Tower of Zot after this treasury trip. So, as we like to say here, there's a number of checks in here. Why don't you feel free to rate that treasury?
Rate that treasury! Sorry, we love our memes here.
I wouldn't I would be surprised to see Leno not go into Tower of Zod here.
I think if you're already here, you got to, yeah.
Especially with the Rosa, because you want her to know exit, even though Cecil knows exit. Antella knows exit.
I will say that treasury was pretty underwhelming. We got an Avenger Sword, which we already got, and there was nothing else. That's like a 2 of 10 treasury. Yeah, it was a very disappointing treasury.
I don't really see a situation where his treasury could even be hyped for you at this point of the race. You've got a Crystal Sword Cecil, a White Robe Rosa, a Quake Kit online, an Edge that's pretty decently equipped, and the means to go anywhere in the game except for, Cape Magnus, for example. You gotta start hunting down your bosses, and Leno is going to do exactly that. With this Earth Crystal, we get to do 2 boss checks here in Tower of Zod, as Zeke makes his way over to do what I'm assuming is going to be the same thing.
Yeah, I think the key thing in particular with this play, you don't want to have to go to the moon, do all those checks, and then have to come back to the Earth. So checking at least this prominent one, I like checking the Earth Crystal before committing fully to the moon, personally.
If you missed it the first time, here's another look at that treasury.
Oh, and that's one of our bosses immediately available, the Water Hag.
This is another one of those scripted fights. Water Hag will, after each hit, you'll get a bit of the dialogue that you normally have Anna talking to Edward in the story of the main game after he's wandered off to prove to himself his worth. By hitting this thing 3 times and it goes, ah! And just falls over. So free boss slot, no matter where he happens to really land when you have a party of 5, and required boss slot in today's little scavenger hunt list.
Yeah, so that's 1 more down, so we're only 2 more to go. The Fabul Gauntlet and mystery that I'm sure we will remember as soon as the boss appears on the screen.
Zeke finding this fire dog, he decides to pet the dog.
So this is called the piggy meta. This is a very important part of the free enterprise community that has emerged. So the pigs out here are stand-ins for normal characters that we would get, right? Once the pig enters this room, we have Void Piggy, which means that there's a very limited number of bosses that could possibly be here. And Void Piggy, I think, means this is going to be... I think this is a CPU fight, honestly, just based on the color. Oh, Evil Wall, okay. There's only certain fights that it can be, and the colors correspond to... because there's limits on the palette colors that can be loaded at any one point in time. So the color of the piggy helps indicate which boss you're about to fight. There's whole things about piggy meta in the Free Enterprise Discord. It's kind of ridiculous because we're a ridiculous community, kind of.
Yeah, this evil wall, not really going to be that much of a threat. We see, as I say that, it crumbles. Quite literally. We're just kind of at that point of so much power. A lot of these early game boss slots are literally going to be cheese.
Yeah, it's not going to be terribly difficult at this point in time. So the evil wall crumbles.
So Trey has popped into chat and let us know the boss we're thinking of that we've completely forgotten on is actually Demist.
You're absolutely right. Thank you, Trey. You're the hero that the people don't necessarily want, but absolutely need.
Or deserve.
Or deserve. All right, so as rewarded for completing the Earth Crystal, we are rewarded with the Pink Tail, which, look, I'm just going to warn you, would be a complete waste of time. We don't turn in the Pink Tail. We don't need it. We don't need any more power. We're good.
So we are going to see the moon imminently here.
Absolutely. It does look like Lenophis is going to be the first one to the moon. The difference, Zeke has already done his grind. Zeke is at final game power levels right now.
Yeah, Leno might be ahead in steps as he is lifting the lunar whale here, but it is Zeke who has the levels and has the equipment and has the items to just jump at anything that happens to be sitting on the moon. We might actually see, depending on where the bosses are placed up there, like a little swag walk here.
Yep, it does. Although there's still some possibility if both the Fabul Gauntlet and the D-Mist are hidden behind other locations. We could still see just a big old Zonk on the moon. So we're one boss away at this point in time. We are only looking for one. Check number one is going to be what is known in the community as Cave Value, Cave Bahamut, which is a relatively quick check. We can see who the boss is and exit out. We can also set up to do a little bit of a grind in the final room as well if we haven't already done a grind.
Yeah, we saw Zeke do the egg grind a little bit earlier. We will probably see, and we are going to see both the face check and the King Ryu grind from Lenophis.
Zeke is doing the check. Oh look, the flame sprite is randomized into Kari. So Kari is burning down Mist Village. But as you do, you know, this is what happens when you don't properly fund the science research kids. They get angry and they burn things down. I'm just going to put that out there. So Kari burns down the town, and we're going through the package cutscene. This is really interesting because if one of those two bosses is here, Zeke's in the clear. Zeke's already done his grind and can go right to the moon. We do see the other grind, the other popular grind in this particular flag set, the Twin King Ryu grind. They are susceptible to hourglasses, so we picked up a few of those. They can be stopped. And after that, you just kind of, zerk up Cecil and just kind of let him swing. And then you do what's called a life glitch, which the life glitch is really interesting in the free enterprise community. What ends up happening is you kill an enemy, and then you cast life on the sprite as it's dying. What ends up happening when you cast life or use a life potion is it will restore the amount of HP based on the vitality stat of your character or the enemy. However, all enemies have 0 vitality. So what ends up happening in the background is you cast life on a dead enemy that you can only target for a half second or so while it's dying. But you cast life and it will revive it and then kill it again, thus doubling your experience and your gold gathered from that particular enemy.
I don't know if you saw the boss that was sitting on Bahamut's slot, but I think we're probably glad to see that we can visibly check it and not kind of run head on into it.
It looked like it was Kinyatso, which we definitely want to avoid because Kinyatso is kind of a pain, especially on the moon. Yeah. Oh, Zeke is now doing Golbez. Did he check the boss yet?
I struggle to remember if I saw. I know we saw him go through the cutscene. I don't know if he did the package check. He might be set up for it to just get out of it if he doesn't like what he sees.
Yeah.
Meanwhile, Leno is going to start at the top here and give us a look at what bosses we have hiding in the lunar subterrane. With one boss to go, any one could be the one that says, "Aight, now get down to the Zeromus and have yourself a blast." And there's an ant lion on the moon. Oh boy.
Well, and here's the issue, and here's the decision process that Lenophis has to make. We're only looking for one boss. Honestly, I'd be resetting out. But I don't necessarily blame him for wanting to go ahead, hey, I'm here, let's kill it, because we have things like the Baron Key that's still out there, which lock away 2 bosses. We still have, what other, let me see, Package is done, Luca Key. We have, but no one's checked yet, which I think is a travesty. We have Earth Crystal, which we've checked. Trying to think what other key items we have. Tower Key, that's still
we
out
don't
there
have
as well.
the Tower Key. We also have the Twin Harp still hiding out there. We haven't seen that yet.
The Twin Harp is an important one, especially if you're really trying to win the race of memes and community support, because the Twin Harp has just amazing community support.
You see Leno is tooth and nailing, throwing everything but the kitchen sink. Maybe even Edge will throw the kitchen sink at this ant lion here.
This ant lion is doing 1,200 damage a swing, even to an armored up Cecil. We talked about what happens when you have those early game bosses that all they know how to do is swing, and you put them in a super punchy spot. This is a super punchy spot.
Yeah, it only takes one more shot for Edge to go down here, but his Ninja Star does the trick. And what do we have sitting on this altar but the Magma King? Hey!
Hey!
We can get underground now!
Yes, we can! Memes. No, memes. Honestly, that's my least favorite meme from this tournament. Because we mentioned it earlier, we were guaranteed access to underground through the hook. Normally you can get underground either through the hook or the Magma Key. So whenever the Magma Key shows up, there's sarcasm. There's lots of dripping sarcasm in the community.
You just kind of groan when you see it. It's like, of all the zonks you could possibly get, you had to give me the Magma Key.
Yep. Yep. I think one of the reasons that Lenophis went ahead and killed that boss, I think he's still looking for a little bit of levels. Like, he didn't steal the sirens like Zeke did. So he's still looking for levels, even though his team didn't get a whole lot. His Edge did. Meanwhile, we see Zeke on the other screen going into the Giant of Battle, which is another area that's locked off, but it's only 2 bosses, and one boss is locked behind the other. So this is a play that you make when you typically feel like you're behind.
Yeah, this Giant of Babel, typically an endgame kind of spot, is going to yield a bunch of experience that we don't necessarily need. But it is also one of those tucked away spots that were made available with that Luca key in Logic. So it could just very well be the game's saying, hey, one of your 2 bosses are up in the Giant. You got to figure out whether it's the first one, or if you can get past the first one, is it the second one? Or is it neither?
I still want it to be in Luca Cave, and they both dodged it, because there's still a boss there that only takes a minute and a half to check, honestly.
Oh, we got Dark Imps sitting here, and I believe we have some coffins, so this should be an A-OK fight.
It should be relatively easy. Meanwhile, Lenophis shows us the CPU fight at the Crystal Sword Altar, which we want absolutely no part of whatsoever.
Yeah, on the moon, CPU is very tanky, very slow, only deals fixed damage, so not necessarily dangerous until you take out both the attacker and the defender. Hint, don't do that. But on slots on all these moon altars, the CPU itself will have a ton of HP. It's really not something you want to spend a lot of time whittling down.
No. We do see some life glitches. Looks like we're shooting for some extra experience as well. 341,000 experience. By the way, we're set on levels on Zeke's side. Lenophis shows us Baigen at the White Spear altar. Only 2 more boss locations up here on the moon that we haven't checked. Right next to each other, we have the Ribbon Room, and then we have the Masamune altar. Otherwise, we've checked everything. And we're starting to run out of spots.
Yeah, we might have to see one of those dives after a key item here. Zeke taking the save after having dispatched the spot on elements. Now we have the CPU slot here. And who do we have waiting here? What haven't we seen yet outside of R2? Oh, this is the gauntlet!
This is the gauntlet. So the Fabul gauntlet normally is just a series of normal enemy fights that you get for defending Fabul. It's been updated in this randomizer so that it is 5 random encounters in a row that you would get for whatever area that you're in. This is the Fabul gauntlet fight as it would be in the Giant of Babel. So this is going to be go mode for Zeke at this point in time. Paying off. It's not necessarily a set of easy fights because these are not necessarily easy bosses. But also we still have a walk down into the underworld that we have to do. Meanwhile, Lenophis is finishing up. This is going to be perfect. Like, he's not going to have to grind at this point in time. He'll have the levels set up because he's not had to grind because he's killed enough bosses. Plus, getting the experience here. So if he ends up finding the D-Mist at the Masamune altar, this is still a race right now.
Yeah, but if he doesn't, then the question is going to be where that D-Mist is hiding out if Leno decides to fade the giant.
Well, there's the Sand Ruby, so...
Nice and not very useful in this flag set.
No,
Normally, in other flag sets, you might have that Sand Ruby blocking a character, but today it's blocking a piggy.
Yeah, it's just an item on your way to 10 key items, worthless otherwise. But this is quite the race that we have. Lenophis certainly set up. Runners hoping for a race are hoping this is going to be D-Mist. It's still going to be a bit of a slow fight, regardless. And we have
Mylan, which means that D-Mist is somewhere that we have not yet been. Whether that's the Sealed Cave, Cave Magnus, Baron Castle. I'm getting those backwards tonight.
A little bit. It's okay. It's late. That's what happens when we're commenting past midnight.
Midnight on a Friday night. But the good bad news could be for Leno if this is like the Baron Key. It could point him in the direction where our last boss is. Of course, if it's Baron Throne, then you have to go through Dr. Dialogue first. If it's the Baron Basement Throne, you still have to go through Dr. Dialogue first.
yeah, you have to go through Dr. Dialogue either way.
We're talking about one fight versus the other being kind of rough, depending on who's hit where. But at this point, you're not worried about who's where. You've already seen some of your most dangerous combinations of slot and enemy, and pretty well equipped at this point. I would say the Z fight is going to be a walk in the park once we get there.
Yeah. It's worth noting that this has not been necessarily an easy progression of fights for Zeke, though. Even though this is the final fight, these enemies hit hard, and because there's no real script preparation for these particular fights, you just kind of have to wing it. Oh, there's the Twin Harp on the Lenophis side.
That's I'm not gonna lie to you, that's actually kind of harrowing. Because you get that Twin Harp there. If your boss isn't in Cave Magnus, then Baron Key is. And that means your 8th boss is going to be in Baron Castle. Ooh, that would be a chain. Unless it's just in Sealed Cave. Along with that Luca key check that we already did the warp glitch for.
Yeah, we've already done the warp glitch for it. You know what? I want it to be at Luca Cave. Like, I don't want anything else to happen. I want it to be at Luca Cave. But in the meantime, ZekeHighwind has killed his 7th of the 8 bosses. Has to clear out room and ditching the Loki harp. Okay, I get it. But he has his crystal. He is ready to go fight Zeromus. Timer's at 1:18. Okay, so they're doing reasonably fast right now. And we're gonna get double memes here. So we do have Lenophis going over here into Cave Magnus. Okay, so I gotta. Oh my gosh, I'm in meme overload right now. Okay, okay. Okay, so first we're going to start with Cave Magnus because I think that's what we're going to trigger first. So Cave Magnus, we are a randomizer community. We like to randomize lots of different things. One of the things that we actually randomize is the terrible music. Spoiler alert, if you haven't played the original Final Fantasy IV, Edward gives you the twin harp. He plays a magical melody to impact the weakness of the dark elf that is normally here and allows him to be hit, and you can pick up your metal weaponry because you normally can't use metal in Cave Magnus. We changed the song. We changed the harp song, and there are several hundred different harp songs that are available that we'll let DJ Spoony B we'll do a quick remix here in a second to let that go through. Once we get through the cutscene here. So DJ Spoony B going to be mixing up some fat beats, specifically, and I've been told that our free enterprise community has put together a special song specifically to go with the theme of helping out the green gaming charities with Mother of Corals. So shout out to the community. Here we go. All right. There we go. And that was for Portal 2, While You're Gone. Shout out to Xenocat, one of the admins that chose that song specifically. Just a fantastic song there. In the meantime,
we did see that's a pass sitting in the. That's not what Leno's looking for.
That's not what Zeno's looking for, no, the pass. The pass does allow us access, kind of backdoor access to Zeromus, unfortunately. However, we are on our final walk to Zeromus, so I have another meme spiel that I have to say. So, as I mentioned earlier, we are a Final Fantasy IV free enterprise community. We like to randomize things. We randomize the sprite that burns down the Mist Village. We randomize the sprite or the song when you play the Twin Harp. The only thing we can't randomize is Zeromus into the regular boss pool because he just has too many special properties. So what do? Well, when you use the crystal on him, he transforms his final form in the original game and shows you his true colors. We're getting close to about 600 different sprites that are available randomly, and this is a brand new sprite just for this race that has been unveiled. Thank you, Scala Kitty. Zeromus's final form is, in fact, Aghanim? Okay, yeah. Aghanimus, yeah. Triple Aghanim.
Is this Aga 3?
This is Aga 3, specifically.
If you didn't know, ZekeHighwind is more of a Link to the Past randomizer stalwart over the years. He has recently jumped onto the Final Fantasy IV free enterprise scene and took it by storm, I would say. So it's only fitting that he just kind of gets to face off against his own nightmare.
Now, this was shout out to, again, another one of our community managers, Scala Kitty, who curates all near 600. She won't even tell us how many there actually are out there. So
it could be 600, it could be 6,000. We don't know.
Okay, Agatu. Yeah, it's technically Agatu. You're right, Metroidness. So yeah, this is the final fight, and Zeke is set up incredibly well for this particular fight. He has a Zerker set up. He has power overwhelming. You don't often see a Porum with over 2,000 HP. So he's at incredibly high levels right now, probably about 10 levels higher than he needs to be. So this is going to be a pretty straightforward fight for Zeke right now.
There goes the spoon. Edge is going to throw 9,999 damage right at Aghanim. I mean, Zeromus.
Yeah.
If only you could use a spoon in A Link to the Past. I mean, that'd be overwhelming, wouldn't it?
I'm sure there's some great sprite work because there's some fantastic sprite work that the community does out there. If someone builds an Edge sprite that uses daggers, like that swings and it looks, I would absolutely use that in a heartbeat. I'm just gonna put that out there. We see Palom just casting the nukes, using reflect strats in addition to Cecil and Edge swinging, and we're already at Meteor phase. That's what we call rocks falling. We're almost done. And that is the crash, the boom, and the bang. ZekeHighwind does win this race with a final time of 1 hour, 27 minutes, and 25 seconds. GG's to ZekeHighwind, our winner of this fantastic race this evening. We'll see if he's going to be available for chat here directly. In the meantime, we do see Lenophis finishing up the fight, the Alt Gauntlet fight. We do have some time for some donations, though, while we're getting Zeke ready, if you want.
Hello.
Hello.
We don't got any new donations. However, I guess we can at least remind ourselves why we're here. We are with for Green Gaming Fall Fest 2022. We are raising money for Mother of Corals, whose mission is rather simple. We rely on coral. Oh, sorry. I got distracted because I had the wrong audio on. I heard myself. Whew, not okay. Mother of Corals is simple. They rely on coral reefs for a lot. They produce a significant amount of the world's oxygen, and more than 1 billion people rely on reefs for their livelihoods. but the coral reefs are in trouble now more than ever. We need to return the favor. And with the corals, we provide the tools and training to enable coastal communities to create, maintain, and share artificial coral reef habitats with the public in order to increase their environmental and economic sustainability. So, any donations that you can give to this wonderful cause is definitely going to help everyone in the long run. So, give what you can if you are willing, and enjoy the show.
Fantastic. That's interesting because I did donate on the website, so I was just curious. See, I'm putting my money where my mouth is, chat. So if I can do it, you can do it too. Come on, let's get those donations in. In the meantime, I think Zeke is about ready to join us. Zeke, you here?
I am. I was just letting you guys finish talking.
Perfect. GG's.
Thank you. I mean, it's a friendly race. What's not to like?
I know. It was a fantastic race, and 127, not a bad time for the Blue Moon flag sets there.
Especially when it was a moonless seed.
That call that you made to not go to the moon with the darkness crystal is really what springboards you through this one. We still don't know where Demas is hiding out.
Did Leno check by chance sealed?
Nope, neither of you did, and I'm a little bit angry about it because I love that check personally. I'm salty, but that's okay. I'm allowed to be salty.
I mean, I checked package before sealed. I should be ashamed of myself on that one.
No, but you gave us memes. We got to see a scientist burn down a town, so that's okay.
Oh, was that? I actually was taking a drink during the. I don't actually pay much attention during cutscene because it's a good time to get a drink, stretch the arms out.
Yeah, that was Carrie, the astronomer, the astronomer sprite who burned the town down.
Fantastic.
Yeah. But it was a fantastic race. You know, we had a lot of early world action. Tell me just kind of your initial thoughts as you sit back and reflect upon the scene.
Well, I kind of knew my party as soon as I hit ordeals. Even with, two other exit casters, I still don't like keeping Rosa around.
Why Rosa? Why pour him over Rosa? And I'm just curious, why pour him over Rosa?
One, I wanted the option for early game. Oh, that's a twin harp on Masa. Okay. I wanted the early game option of twin magic for early boss fights. Sure, I didn't use it, but it was there.
Yeah, we speculated that might be the case.
And I don't know. I've just never been the biggest fan of Rosa's. Rosa has more later utility, and some of her utility comes earlier, but Porum gets a couple of spells earlier, most notably, I believe, Berserk and Exit.
Yeah, she definitely gets Exit before, because Rosa does not get Exit in particular until you clear the Earth Crystal, until you clear Tower of Zod. So
Elements on Tower Key.
I'm just seeing that the Baron Key. Wow, for Tower. Where was Tower Key?
Great question. I missed it.
I think Tower Key has to be in Kay Bahamut at that point. We did not see Leno go after... It's a Kainazo on Kay Bahamut, by the way.
I don't blame Leno for not going after the Kainazo on Kay Bahamut.
No, I wouldn't either.
No, it's kind of a jerk. How about the custom sprite that Scala Kitty had set up? Agatu.
I'm getting nightmares of some of my NMG runs and some of my rando runs. But I think it was fantastic given that Leno and I both, or at least I come from a Links of Past background, and Leno comes from an SMZ3 background. So, it's kind of a nice tribute to the runners going into this race. So, big shout-outs to Scala Kitty, the admin one of the admins of the Free Enterprise community for taking the time to custom choose this. And did Leno take the harp from the moon?
He did.
Yes.
He actually checked. We got music. And there was an exclusive song picked out for this as well, provided by Xenocat.
And what did we end up with?
I don't know whether I should tell you, or I'm going to have to make you go back and watch. No, it's okay. We got Portal 2. We got a Portal 2 song.
Portal 2? Wonder which one.
They clipped it in chat, so if you go and read through chat, they will be able to tell you what song that is. Meanwhile, while we're talking, I do want to give a shout out. Lenophis does complete the run as well at 1:34.29. So GG's Lenophis. It was, this was a close race. Anytime you're within 10 minutes of each other in a randomizer race, that means it was super close.
After my run through Blue Moon Tournament, I'm just glad it was longer than 10 seconds.
Any
That happened
others?
several times.
Yeah.
But
Oh. Chad is saying it's What You Gone, the GLaDOS song.
excellent. Excellent. Thank you, Scala.
Well, GG's. I guess any other final thoughts about the seed or even the charity that we're running through this, just as we're getting ready to wrap up here.
I did notice with the charity, I appreciate the opportunity of race to support charity, especially conservation charities. I've been following these kinds of marathons for years. Your Games Done Quicks, your RPG Limit Breaks, your European Speedrun Assemblies. But I really do like these small-scale marathons because it's just people doing their best to raise money for a good cause. So...
No, absolutely. And anytime we have an opportunity to give back, I like being able to jump in and assist as well. So fantastic. Thanks for volunteering. Thanks for pulling me in, by the way. I appreciate you. Hey, we need some help.
Thank you. I put an open invitation. Unfortunately, the timing for this was a little unfortunate for trying to get some of the commentary with RPG Limit Break going simultaneously. Because I know several of our big name people were off at RPG Limit Break. But
yeah. Luckily, I wasn't doing RPG Limit Break, so I'm like, yeah, sure, why not?
But yeah, huge shout outs to you, Vitasia, for just being willing to jump in and help out. And of course, thanks for kind of being a commentary lead for my friend Zeruvian, who I know has been trying to find a chance to get racing this and commentating
everyone.
this. Hello, Lenophis.
There's also a Leno. Let's see some GGs as well for him. In
Hey,
chat.
Leno, welcome.
Hello.
And honestly, regardless of who won this race, it was a very kind, fun, fast seed for you two. And you both played it pretty well.
It was. Most importantly, Twin Harp.
Oh, yeah.
I figured I really appreciate you doing the Twin Harp. I'm like, oh, we found the Twin Harp, and you immediately did it for the memes. You may not have necessarily won the race, but you won chat's heart.
Well, I was told ahead of time that Scala had picked out a song and a sprite, and I didn't think about it until after the race started, but I'm like, if I ever find this Twin Harp, I'm doing it no matter what.
Same.
Win or lose, I'm doing it no matter what.
Unfortunately, it was on the moon, and I did not touch that.
Oh.
But
No, luckily it's interesting because you did the Twin Harp at the same time that Zeke was finishing up the same alt gauntlet fight. So I'm like, oh, I have two memes going on at the same time. I can't do both at the same time. What am I doing?
This sounds strangely familiar to my last Blue Cup match during the tournament that knocked me out. Strangely familiar. Did Zeke ever happen to find the tower key or Baron key?
Nope. But
Oh.
if you're watching your credit sequence, you'll understand why.
Oh, well, I mean, I haven't really been paying attention, but I have a feeling Cognazzo at Cave Blarg holds some value, and I don't like it. Or maybe it was CPU at Crystal Sword Altar, and I don't like it.
Oh, CPU on Crystal Altar?
No,
Ew.
no, worse? Worse?
Moon Turtle, Moon Antlion, Moon CPU.
All the memes.
Yeah, pretty much.
I fought them. I fought the Antlion and nearly took a wipe, and luckily I had enough darts to take care of that.
Would you like us to tell you, Leno, or do you want your credits scene to scroll by and let you know?
Oh, there's the tower key.
Oh, there's
the tower key.
Okay. Behind CPU.
Yeah.
I'm a little sick there, honestly.
I was not touching a CPU.
And it leads directly to Baron Key.
Of course it does.
So the question is Demas in Sealed Cave?
Wait, Demas is in Sealed Cave?
We have no
That's a great
idea.
question.
Oh, I don't know. You know,
It's either there or in Baron Castle, one of the two.
You know what we're gonna do? Since we faded Luca Key, let's go scout that real quick and see what's there.
It'll take you just a minute to
While
get
we
through
have
there.
a moment.
Yeah,
Absolutely.
but
But while we're doing that, I do want to, again, thank both of you runners. You put on a fantastic showcase of the Final Fantasy IV Free Enterprise community. And if I can, just plug, if anyone's interested in Final Fantasy IV Free Enterprise, join us over on the Discord. It's a fantastic internet community. One of the few places on the internet that I would say is genuinely welcoming and friendly of newcomers. And join us over on Discord and just hang out. And if you want to run races or just learn to play it casually, come on over. It's a fun time.
Very much so. The rules for the tournaments are pretty straightforward. They're very extensive. Pretty much
and almost
one of the
self-explanatory.
best tournament experiences I've ever had. And I've only been in the past two tournaments: the Adamant Cup for ZZ4 and now Blue Moon for the Dual Moons for ZZ5. Would recommend to anybody who wants to play. Would recommend.
One correction there, Leno. Adamant Cup was not ZZ4.
Technicalities, details. It's okay. We generally have a fall and a spring tournament or so, where our fall tournament is getting close to wrapping up. You can follow us over on twitch.tv/free enterprise as well. But we do want to give, as we're getting ready to wrap up here, one last shout out to Green Gaming and all the work that they do on behalf of the charities this year, Mother of Corals. And please feel free to give and donate while we're wrapping up. I think this is the last race of the evening. It looks like we are starting again tomorrow morning, fairly early for, guess what? Portal 2.
I don't even know if Scala planned that.
What a segue, though, right?
And it's
Right?
him. So where's this Demas?
It's got to be in Baron.
Baron Castle.
It's got to be in Baron at that point.
I'm going to hazard guess it's on Basement Throne.
So
Yeah.
did Zeke have any issues in Dwarf Castle the first time around? Because I went in low health because of how I routed it and took that unfortunate wipe to Wyvern. Back-to-back sparkles in Dwarf
I'm
Castle.
sorry.
Actually, apparently the Wyvern was kind to me.
Could you have been a friendlier Durg, please?
My front line decided to dodge the Mega Nuke.
Well, yeah, and that's a low magic spot, so we kind of, that makes sense that there would be some Mega Nuke dodges at that point in time. Golbez does not, despite his scary nature, his damage is not good.
Shoutouts to the Free March.
Mm-hmm. Golbez on Mount Hobbs, that scared me a little bit. I didn't really have great equipment. I think I had, 2 Protect Rings? I kind of RNG rolled on the Shadow Devours. That kind of worked out.
I just waited until I did.
I felt like
I
the
did
seed
about an hour in.
was very giving. Did Zeke check the pink tail by any chance?
I did not. The rat tail was a crystal
I
sword.
suppose
though.
you wouldn't have had to if you turned in the rat tail because you got your crystal sword from that.
What was on pink tail? Did you turn it in?
By the time you both had pigtail, you both had crystal sword, so there was absolutely no reason to turn in the pigtail.
That makes sense.
Paladin go burr.
That makes sense. I figured I'd ask, but that makes sense.
But anyways, yeah. Shoutouts again to Green Gaming for letting us show off this fantastic randomizer. So,
Cool. Other than that, again, one last shout out to, of course, Lenophis and ZekeHighwind for putting on a wonderful race. Zerugian, it's been a pleasure commentating with you. Always have a blast. I mean, I don't know if we worked together before. We in a lot of overlapping communities, so but it was great working with you either way.
Yeah. Thanks for helping me cut my teeth on little FF4. Finally getting to show I know a couple things.
No, absolutely.
Not anywhere near as much as these two on the screen here, though.
I mean, the guy I raced taught me everything I know.
And the guy who
almost
taught me everything I know. So, I mean...
Almost everything I
Absolutely.
know.
And thanks both of you for doing the commentary, for trying to do notepad tracking or whatever it is you were trying to do, because we didn't have any trackers on stream. Sorry about that. Shout outs to Synath for organizing this, and to Team Green Gaming in general, and to the charity. Thank you so much. This was a blast.
Yeah. Otherwise, we'll turn it back over to our host. Have a great rest of your evening, and be sure to tune in tomorrow for the next day of the charity event.
Yep. Thank you, everyone. We are moving on to our sleep percent run, as we call